Welcome back to the Bracketologist podcast. I am your host, Ben Walnick, here at the Let It Fly Media Studios. I am pleased to be joined by Lindsey Anderson from 41 Action News. How's it going, Lindsey?
Hello.
You excited to be here?
I am. I'm a little nervous.
A little nervous. Well, this is your expertise here.
Sure
You're a
is.
meteorologist. We're going to be talking about the sounds of weather, and we've broken this down into 18 different sounds. Kind of a strange number. I don't think we've done that yet on the Bracketologist. We might be missing a few, but we tried to come up with the most extensive list that we could. These are the sounds that you would find naturally in weather, so we're not talking about things that are kind of man-made, although some man-made objects could be affected by the weather, which you'll see in here, but like the tornado siren is not in here because it's a man-made object. Let's get right into it if you're ready.
Let's do it.
So we're going to start with our play-in matchup to play versus our number 1 seed. That is our 16 seed shoveling snow versus our 17 seed scraping ice. Kind of similar sounds here. That's why I kind of pitted them against each other. Neither sound to me is an exciting sound that I love hearing. Well, what are your thoughts on these?
Okay, I for sure would say shoveling snow wins this match up. Ice takes a lot longer than I think what people expect. I think scraping ice, it's tedious. You've got to have the car running. You have to have the defrost on. It takes a lot longer, especially if there's just a little bit of frost on your windshield. You have to get to work and you're running late. I mean, that's a nightmare. That's a headache.
Yeah, and I think you have to kind of think of what part of life is associated with this. And when you're thinking of the scraping of ice, you kind of think of a task that you really hate doing, and you maybe have to do a little bit more often than shoveling snow. You can get away with your driveway if there's only an inch or two. It's only when we get a big snow.
Good point.
Maybe in the Northeast, you're shoveling a lot more snow than here.
Well, Northeast maybe have snow blowers.
That's true.
That's
true.
But I think shoveling snow. Now, to me, I'm not necessarily the one always out shoveling the snow. I put Andrew on that. My husband, Andrew, doing that. But when I think of shoveling snow, I think I love snow anyway. Enjoy that. And I'm not necessarily the one shoveling all the time. I think we split up the tasks with my husband, Andrew. But shoveling snow, I think, is every once in a while. You can let it pile up a little bit. You don't have to do it after every event, like you said. And ice is just ice, like yuck. You don't want to deal with ice.
It's also just a slightly less appealing sound. It's like scraping. It's almost like the scratching of a chalkboard. Like I'm out on that. And that's why I barely had shoveling snow as the 16 seed over the 17 seed. So we'll go ahead and advance that. So that plays right into our matchup, which shoveling snow is not going to last long in this bracket. Our number 1 overall seed, the rumble of thunder. It's one of the most appeasing sounds. There's a reason that it's part of, white noise machines to help you fall asleep and stuff like that. It's I love thunderstorms. I grew up in the South. I love it. I don't know. What do you think about thunder?
I love it. Off in the distance, that's what you think of rumbling of thunder, right? It's far away. Maybe it's approaching, but it's around. Maybe in the evening hours. I mean, it's just, it's definitely relaxing, I think.
100%. Yeah. I don't think we need to spend too much time on that. We can talk about that a little bit more as it advances. So our number 1 seed advances to our Elite 8. Let's get into our 8 seed, wind chimes, versus our 9 seed, wind howling. Definitely 2 very different sounds associated with wind, and one of these man-made objects that we have in the bracket, but I just think of wind chimes when I think of wind. I have one in my backyard. Had one when I was growing up. I think it's a little bit more of a pleasing sound than wind howling is kind of just a little bit more violent.
Right. Yeah, you associate it with bigger storms, maybe. If you have like a crack in a window, it's like whistling through the house.
As a homeowner now, I get more concerned that a branch is going to hit my roof. True. Whereas maybe when I was renting before, I didn't care as much. When I hear wind howling, I'm like, oh no, what's happening with my house?
Hold together, please.
Should I have moved that, readjusted the electrical wiring and so I don't have a tree limb knock out my power or something like that?
I know.
So, I mean, and you like wind chimes is just, it's just nice.
It's pleasant.
Right?
Yes, it's pleasant. I think you associate it with a nice breezy day. Who doesn't love a nice breeze?
Yeah. Is it a little cheating that we're using a man-made object, whereas wind howling just kind of occurs naturally?
But that's how you hear wind, I think.
I agree. That's why I had it in the bracket.
That's the sound of wind.
Okay, let's do it.
So I think that's all right. I think wind chimes wins.
The first thing I think of when I think of wind is wind chimes, and then there's one other one in our bracket, which is actually in our next matchup. Let's talk about it. The wind in the trees, our number 4 seed, versus our 13 seed, wildfire crackling. So it's kind of hard to differentiate this, but because it's a fire at a fire pit's not really naturally occurring. I didn't want to do the sound of just like fire crackling.
We need a disclaimer on that. So what do you mean by that?
So like wildfires, like obviously a little bit more of a negative connotation, but like if you see news stories or I think of unfortunately what happened in Australia earlier this year or late last year, whenever that happened.
Forest fires.
Yeah, so it's the crackling of the fire, but it's associated with, the wind moving these fires quickly across land and causing havoc. Whereas wind in trees, again, there's going to be us leaning a little bit towards sounds that we enjoy. Wind in trees is like, I think of being in Colorado or being hiking and just like kind of just hearing the wind kind of rustling through the leaves.
Right. I know. I don't think wildfire crackling can win this. I don't think that advances because I think you associate with destruction. We saw what happened to the koalas in Australia.
Horrible.
Yeah. And I know in California, of course, dealt with so many wildfires too and still are right now.
I covered it in Oklahoma where I was like on the front lines. There's literally a video of me turning around and like you see the fire like leaping across the road. It's scary. It's not fun. It's definitely a very distinct sound. And if we were doing sounds of like white noise and you could do just fire crackling in the fireplace, it would probably make a deep run in the tournament. But for this, doesn't really feel right.
Yeah. I think wind in trees is nice.
Let's do it. Okay. Number 5 seed, rain pouring versus our 12 seed, nor'easter waves. So again, couldn't do white noise machine of just like waves crashing as just like naturally, like if you're on the beach in Florida. But definitely distinctly remember like watching news stories in like a big nor'easter storm or even a hurricane and just seeing like houses getting hit by these giant waves crashing in. So very distinct sound there. And then also you kind of hear the wind with it too because it has to be really windy for that. And then rain pouring is kind of like, it's kind of one of the OGs. It's not rain specifically hitting anything, but if you're sitting on the back porch and just kind of watching the rain like fall down, or maybe you were outside and it starts pouring and you have to run inside, but like very distinct sound of just hearing the water just coming down torrentially. What do you think?
This is a really hard one.
Yeah.
I'm debating on this one because rain pouring to me here in Kansas City, Missouri and Kansas, it pours. I mean, it comes down heavy and sometimes it doesn't stop. And as homeowners now, I get really worried. My basement floods easy. I think a lot of homes around Kansas City does too. That makes me nervous, especially if it doesn't let up for about 45 minutes or an hour and you're like, okay, when are you going to stop? And it's not moving or anything. I mean, you track these storm cells all the time and if it's moving pretty quickly, you're not worried, but those slow moving cells will get you. So I'm on the fence there. Nor'easter waves, I may be leaning towards that. I don't know. Granted, I've never lived in the Northeast. I have experienced hurricanes living in North Carolina, went to school at NC State, so been through a couple hurricanes, no major hurricanes, but Cat 1s. And so I don't know. I'm back and forth on this. Do we know the sound of a nor'easter wave?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely just like waves crashing like you would normally think, but also you kind of hear the howling of the wind too because it's associated with it. So it's kind of a mixture of those two. It's that weather event. It's a little bit more of a negative connotation compared to just rain pouring, even though we are a little bit worried about flooding with rain pouring. I like the sound of rain, maybe just a little bit more in general than waves crashing, but they're both not bad. And I think we have a better one associated with rain that's ranked really highly, I feel like. I don't know. I'm going to leave this one up to you. I think this is a close matchup. It's maybe closer than 5 versus 12.
Yeah, and I think too, nor'easter waves, I would think structurally buildings are kind of, prepared for those type of things in the Northeast, can handle the waves, Cape Cod area. That's what I'm kind of picturing. I say let's do an upset here.
Okay, I'm good with that. Those houses are on stilts. They're fine.
Yeah, you guys can live through that.
Okay, let's move to our right side of the bracket. We'll have our other play-in matchup, which was our 15 seed Tornado versus our 18 seed Leaves Crunching. So everyone knows the sound of whether they're raking leaves or they're stepping on leaves on a walk in the fall. Versus Tornado, which sounds a little bit more like it's always described as like jumbo jet or like freight train, kind of not like the horn of a train, but hearing it come down the tracks and yeah. Obviously a much more negative connotation with Tornado than leaves crunching, but the actual sound itself, do you like the sound of leaves crunching?
Yeah. Yeah, I love leaves. Fall is my favorite season. So I'm associating with the leaves are just down on the ground. I mean, you picture a nice crisp fall day outside, leaves crunching to me, and you're walking the dog, things like that. I don't know. I just associate that with nice things.
Yeah,
so I like that sound.
I like that one too. Now, and it feels weird with like advancing tornado when you're talking about like massive destruction. But
well, I mean, you've obviously seen a lot of tornadoes. So I don't know if we've established that you were a meteorologist.
Yes.
In Oklahoma. Well, you're Texas and then Oklahoma.
Yeah, so I've storm chased before. I did in college. I did for my last station in Oklahoma for the last 2 years. I've been really close to tornadoes, but not close to strong tornadoes. And I feel like they have to be pretty strong for you to really hear that
and close
definitive
to
sound.
Like you have to be like affected by it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend trying to do that on purpose.
No, you want to be far away as a storm chaser.
So it's really going off of like sound effects that I've heard or descriptions. And for me, I think I'd be okay with leaves crunching here. It's a little bit of a happier sound. I'd fall also my favorite season, and tornadoes. Not many people have actually heard them, and you don't want to hear it.
And you don't. And if you do hear it, that means you're in the path of destruction. So let's not advance that.
And have multiple ways to get your warning, people. Multiple ways to get your warning, including
at least 3.
Watching 41 Action News or having the app. I don't know. Shout out.
Yeah, all of that. We got you covered. Storm Shield app.
All right. So leaves crunching. That's going up against now our number 2 seed, Rain on the Roof. I think this is a pretty easy answer, right? I don't even think
Rain on the Roof is lovely.
It's an OG sound.
I mean, in the afternoon, Rain on the Roof is the best. Nighttime Rain on the Roof is actually really nice, but I don't love waking up in the middle of the night and hearing it. But if it's in the middle of the day, I don't know. I just love that sound.
If it's like super, super heavy, and again, you're having your concerns about like, are we having too much rain? Like maybe not the best, but like if it's just a normal rain, like just enough to hear it, like maybe you have a skylight in your house and you're kind of hearing it on the skylight, like, or like a tin roof, that's a really good, distinct sound. I like that. And look, I think you have to have, definitely in this first matchup, but rain is so common, and it's just one of the sounds you immediately think about when you think of weather. Like I feel like it deserves to make a deep run. We'll see if it does.
And like you said earlier with some other arguments, it's on those sound machines, right? Soothes you to sleep, the Rain on the Roof.
For sure. It's also nice as a meteorologist when you start hearing it when like you predicted the rain would happen a certain time, or you're looking at radar and you're like, oh, it's going to be here soon, and then you start hearing it and you're like, yes.
Or you're with your friends, you're on Radar Scope. That's a great app.
Yes.
And you're on Radar Scope, you're like, it'll be here in 10 minutes, and they're like, yeah right,
sure,
whatever.
Sure.
And it is.
Yes.
You're right.
Great feeling.
It's a great feeling.
A little inside scoop for meteorologists there. Great feeling.
It is.
Okay, 7 seed, snow crunching versus 10 seed, hail hitting usually the ground or the roof. Hopefully not your car. That's a little bit more of a terrifying sound, but it exists. Okay, so both of these are frozen components of the weather. Snow crunching, you need either a car driving or you need to be walking. Hail happens naturally without any human interaction. And again, if you're talking a little bit more negative interaction, when you're hearing hail, you're worried about possible damage. But it is very distinct, and I don't hate the sound. You kind of cringed when we played the sound effect earlier.
I did. I don't.
You don't like it.
I don't love it, but I also little pea-sized hail. A lot of things can withstand that. But yeah, hail hitting. I think of dealerships, the cars out. I think of everyone that has to park out on the streets. I grew up, or for about 10 years of my life, lived in Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area.
DFW.
There we are. And I will never forget, we had such big hail one time. It broke right through our playground slide in our backyard. And that's such a memory. And we never really fixed it.
Yeah.
So moments like that, you're like, oh, hail hitting something is just never good. But on the flip side, snow crunching, to me, it has to be real cold outside. Not only because it's snow. I mean, you can get snow at 32 degrees, and it's not bad at all. But to get that crunching sound, you have to have the ice crystals. It has to be cold enough to have that, to compress those ice crystals together to make that sound.
Really specific stories for you and I. Both of our dogs at the same exact time had ACL surgery.
I can't relive that.
And we had to, because they were wearing a cone, you can let them off the leash. You had to go walk them. And both of our surgeries happened in the winter, and it was a terrible winter.
Ice and snow all the time.
And you got where the snow, it got really cold, so the top of the snow froze. So it was just heavy enough to walk on, but then you would break through, and it was you hearing that sound makes me cringe because it's like, is my dog re-tearing its ACL right now? It was very, very scary.
Yes, I know. They're both not great.
So snow crunching, I like hearing when it's pretty quiet outside and like a car driving through the snow for the first time I like that sound.
Yeah, no, it's serene. You picture just a nice winter evening.
Now, when you think of hail, also I have a story. Also growing up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, around the same time that you did, because I'm older than you, we had a giant hailstorm where like 3 storms in a row in the same night all dropped at least baseball-size hail.
Wow.
Shattered my parents' skylight in their bathroom, shattered my basketball goal. Everyone in the neighborhood had to get a new roof. Like, it was insane. Like, it's like, you can look it up. I believe it was 2003 or 2004 in the DFW area, and it cost billions of dollars in damage.
That's amazing. Wow.
I feel like that's so negative that we have to go.
Yeah, snow crunching. Yeah, but like, I completely agree. Snow crunching.
Even with our fears of our dog's legs and them snapping on ice. There's also so many good positive like thoughts I have, like going on a hike with just a little snow on the ground, or that walk for the first time when like the snow's just not heavy enough.
Yeah.
Okay, our 3 seed, the crack of thunder.
Oh, so good.
Versus our 14 seed, sleet falling. So this is kind of what you're just saying, like hail falling, but like really small hail, like pea size. Well, that's kind of what sleet sounds like. But crack of thunder, it's awesome, like the power of nature. But it is so scary sometimes.
Well, so we have thunder rumble. So we have a rumble of thunder, we have a crack of thunder. So the difference here, of course, is the distance of you from a lightning strike.
Right. Well, and like, you can have the rumble of thunder with a lightning strike that's super close, but it happens right after the crack of thunder. So there's the initial crack, you didn't know it was coming, or like the lightning flashes and within a few seconds, like boom, it hits. And you're like, oh, wow, that was 5 seconds. That was 1 mile away, because that's the rule.
You have to divide by 5.
That's right.
Yep.
It's not 1 second to 1 mile, people. But like, it's definitely not the appeasing sound that rumble of thunder is, but it is like, if you're talking about one sound to define the power of Mother Nature, like it has to be that.
It has to be. And you just know it's there. I think.
And especially like, okay, if you don't have dogs to get super scared of it, if it's not waking you up in the middle of the night, if it's like you see the lightning flash and you're just anticipating and waiting for that crack.
And you're counting.
It's an awesome anticipation.
Yeah.
If you like weather.
Yeah.
And storms. If you're scared of storms, this is not the bracket for you. Sleep falling, again, it's fine. I get the thought in my head of, if you want to get really nerdy with weather, I get the thought of my head of like thinking, oh no, sleet's falling instead of snow, so we're not going to get out of school. Because like sleet, like it's easier to drive on.
Right.
So like school's not going to get canceled.
It's not. Okay, so one thing I like to remember with this is that sleet pings, so it bounces, right? So that's what you hear. You're going to hear the pinging on your windshield and on your windows. And then ice, freezing rain, clings. So that's the difference here between freezing rain and sleet that we're talking about. So sleet pinging isn't all that bad, but crack of thunder, man, I mean, you just can't beat that.
Quick meteorology lesson, how does sleet form?
Oh, from all the different temperature changes in the atmosphere, Ben.
Right. It's frozen,
like,
then it melts, but then right before it gets to the ground, it's cold enough for it to freeze again.
Exactly. So
but not long enough to become a snowflake.
Right. It's quite, and that's why forecasting winter weather, really anywhere across the country, is such a challenge. And here in Kansas City, we're always on the threshold of 32 degrees. So even if we're a little warmer than that, colder than that, it's going to change everything.
I feel like I've said that everywhere that I've worked.
I know. Everyone does say that.
Like Oklahoma also can get a really bad ice storm or get a really bad snowstorm. Here, I feel like it's a little bit more towards snow, but it still can be a really messy forecast.
Still pretty close to that edge, but that's why I like forecasting snow, because it can be, worthwhile.
Weather nerding it out.
Woo!
Okay, let's stay in the frozen category for this first one. Our 6th seed, the silence of snow. Play that sound effect. Okay. And our 11th seed, car on wet roads. Okay, so...
Yeah, can you explain the silence of snow?
So, like, when you have a really good snow, especially a dry snow, it is a muffling sound. Like sound waves will get trapped by the snow so that any ambient noise that you're used to hearing outside is so much more muffled that it's much quieter outside, especially if you're talking about a big enough snow that has knocked out power.
And we're talking the dry fluffy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what
for sure
stacks it up a little bit more.
So like, I'll give you an example. We had that crazy big snow right around Thanksgiving weekend. It was at the end of Thanksgiving weekend, I believe in 2018.
2018?
I think so. That's when I moved here.
Yeah, okay.
Because we were in Oklahoma visiting family. We were supposed to stay until Sunday afternoon.
It was like 70 degrees. It was amazing the day before this event.
Yeah. And so it was like, we were supposed to stay until Sunday afternoon, and like Saturday at like 11 p.m., they issued a blizzard warning. And I just told my wife, Katie, I was like, I know we're with your family and we've only been here for a day, but we have to go home tonight. Like, we might not get home, and you have to be at work on Monday because she works at a hospital. So we literally drove from like midnight until 4 a.m. to get home, and it was terrible. I drank a lot of coffee, and we got in town, and then we got like almost a foot of snow. And it was, I remember that next day when everything shut down, a lot of people lost power, and just standing outside, and it was just dead silent.
Yeah.
And I love that sound, or lack of sound. Car on wet roads though is interesting to me because I really like that sound too. Like, it's, I don't know what it is about it, but it's just like, you know, we need rain. You need rain for everything to survive. And like, we need rain every now and then. And it's like, all right, if we had rain in the forecast, or it was like a wet day, and just hearing people out and about in the car, I don't know what it is about it. I can't explain it.
It's like people aren't bothered by it. We're still going through our day. It's like, okay, hey, we got the rain that we predicted. Yeah, I think it's pleasing too. I mean, I feel like rain and thunder, man, is really doing well here on this bracket.
So, do we eliminate the only sound of weather that literally isn't a sound? What do you think?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we go car. I understand that silence that you're talking about, though, and just how, with no power, everything's quiet, but
I like it. So we have two upsets. They're both at the bottom of our bracket. So our Elite 8, our 1 seed, the Rumble of Thunder, versus our 8 seed, Wind Chimes. Our 4 seed, Wind in Trees, versus our 12 seed, Nor'easter Waves. Our 2 seed, Rain on the Roof, versus our 7 seed, Snow Crunching. And our 3 seed, The Crack of Thunder, versus our 11 seed, Car on Wet Roads. So you really have 1, 2, 3,
this is
4. Half of our bracket left is like thunderstorms, or involved in a rainstorm.
This is going to get very hard.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this one's still pretty easy. Our Rumble of Thunder, our 1 seed versus 8 seed, Wind Chimes. Love Wind Chimes. I honestly think this could have made the Final Four if this wasn't its matchup, because I think this is maybe one of the top 5 or 6 sounds. But Rumble of Thunder is just, it's...
No question.
I have it as the 1 seed for a reason. I love, like, either hearing, like you said, it's either in the distance because the storm has already passed through you and now you're the quiet behind the storm, but you can still hear the remnants of it. Or it's like, it's coming, but it's still a good distance away.
Yeah.
I think I'm on the porch listening to a storm.
Exactly. You're kind of watching it. You're tracking it. I think also when I think of Rumble of Thunder, I don't necessarily think of severe weather either. I mean, it can just be one of those summertime storms that form and develop and pop up, and I think it's lovely.
Yep. Let's go with that. So our 1 seed advances. 4 seed, Wind in the Trees, versus 12 seed, Nor'easter Waves. I also think that maybe our Elite 8 round is going to be pretty fast, because I also think this one's a pretty easy win for Wind in Trees. I feel like Wind needs to have a representative in the Final Four, and if I'm directly comparing these two, to get Nor'easter Waves, you need Wind. And it's too tough for me to separate just ocean waves versus nor'easter waves. I feel like this one was kind of a stretch to have in the bracket, whereas hearing the Wind in Trees is a sound I hear a lot, and it's very recognizable.
Yeah, and that's probably a random upset too, so I don't think it needs to go on.
Yeah, okay. So we'll go Wind in Trees. So our 1 seed versus our 4 seed in the Final Four. Over to the right side of the bracket, we have our 2 seed, Rain on the Roof, versus our 7 seed, Snow Crunching. So this one may be a little bit closer. It feels weird to just be getting rid of rain, really, this early. But what do you think? Because you were a big proponent of Snow Crunching.
Yes, I like Snow Crunching. I don't know, Ben. I'm stumped on this one. Snow Crunching. I think after a good snow, I think people are out still walking and enjoying your day. Maybe it's in still the silence, the quiet, but all you hear is the crunching around you. I think that's pretty pleasant. But I'm still going with rain on the roof on this one.
I think
rain on the roof sound. It's not pouring, right? It's just like that steady rain that's coming down, and I think that's nice.
Yeah, and it's like I think overall, I enjoy storms. I know some people don't enjoy storms. Even in a pouring down rain on the roof, as long as it's not like you said, like a flooding rain for like 6 straight hours, it's still like a sound that I enjoy hearing. Like snow crunching, while it could be breaking up the silence and it could be nice, like you're going on a walk for the first time in a while because it's now warm enough, or it's you've shoveled your driveway.
Right.
It could be your snow crunching on your feet because you're going to shovel your driveway, or you're having to push your car out of the snow. Like I have negative moments that I can think of in my television career and in my life where I'm like digging myself out of the snow and I can just hear the snow crunching as I'm walking around my car and stuff like that.
We need to get you a better car, Ben.
Oh, we upgraded to the SUV this year, so
you'll love that. You'll love that.
I think rain on roof.
Yeah.
Rain needs. Look, we've got thunder, we've got wind, we've got rain. I think we're getting a lot of good representation here in the Final Four. So the question is,
okay,
do we have 2 representatives from rain and wet with car on wet roads, our 11 seed, or do we have 2 representatives in the Final Four of thunder with our 3 seed, the crack of thunder?
Crack of thunder, I think, is a little jarring. I think it can be a little scary, especially if you're not, a big weather fan, or maybe all of a sudden it just like kind of popped out of nowhere. Maybe you're out sports, right? If you're out golfing or if you're out baseball fields, things like that at the park, and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
That's really scary. So to me, car on wet roads is still pleasant. I think it still comes with people are, getting by through their day just fine with rain on the roads, like no big deal. There's no real impacts. I mean, it can get slick, but.
Yeah. So there's only like 2 sounds on this list that could literally give you a heart attack. One is crack of thunder. The other is if you're elderly and shoveling a lot of snow.
Or tornado, probably. But that didn't
tornado.
That didn't make it anywhere.
Car on wet roads, maybe if you like are about to get run over by a car and it's like maybe if we're getting really morbid, but like you said, I think crack of thunder is. I like the sound in the right context, but you have to put a lot of qualifiers in front of it.
Right. Like only if, or
only if it's not waking me up, or only if I don't have children or dogs that are super scared of it.
That are going to jump into bed with you.
Or only if I'm not outside and literally a lightning strike is happening like on the field.
Not ideal.
Whereas car on wet roads, it's just, like you said, it's hard to explain, but there's an appeasing sound about, like, I can hear that sound and know what the weather conditions are outside. If it's like, I sometimes will wake up in the morning and I didn't know if it's rained and I haven't looked outside yet, but I might hear a car go by and be like, oh, it's rained outside.
See, I don't have that problem because I'm in studio in the morning.
Yes.
Early in the morning, so I don't hear that.
Maybe after your afternoon nap.
No, that's true. Then I'm like, oh, I got the forecast right.
Nice. Okay, so let's have an upset. We're going to have our 11 seed in the Final Four, so it's not chalk into the Final Four.
Okay.
Look, Crack of Thunder, probably the 5th best sound on this list.
Yeah, just
barely missed it. It's just a little bit too much of. I feel like there will be a big chunk of the population that it's more scary than a good sound.
Right.
But definitely, if you're looking at, like I said, power of Mother Nature, that's a different bracket. That's the 1 seed. Okay, so our Final Four, our 1 seed, the Rumble of Thunder versus our 4 seed, Wind in the Trees, and our 2 seed, Rain on the Roof versus our 11 seed, Car on Wet Roads. So we have 3 associated with storms and 1 that could be right before the storm rolls in.
Sure.
Maybe it's a South thing.
Oh.
1 seed, Rumble of Thunder versus 4 seed, Wind in Trees.
I immediately go with Rumble of Thunder. I think it's still, like you said, OG sound. Rumble of Thunder just still has that positive connotation with it. It's off in the distance. You either know it's coming to you or it's just left. I love that sound. It's a great sound.
Like I said, I think of my wife Katie. She grew up on a ranch in Oklahoma, and they have like one of those porches that goes like all the way around the house, which is awesome. And just thinking of like sitting on the swing and just like hearing the thunder in the distance rolling in It's just like happy place, right?
Totally. Now, I will say, side note on this, if you're working or if you know you have to come in and help with work, if storms are starting.
It's very specific for you.
I know, and then you start to hear the rumbles of thunder, like, oh, that means storms are starting to pop up and might get active, and hey, I have to be on call to help with work. Or if I wake up before my alarm and I hear rumbles of thunder, I'm like, uh-oh, I got to get in.
Let me check radar.
I need to check radar. I might need to get into work an hour earlier. I get in at 3 a.m., so maybe I need to get in at 2 a.m.
But you're better than I. I just waited if I was on call until I heard tornado sirens, and then I was like, oh, I guess I should go in. I'm kidding.
Whatever. You are kidding. You guys would line up if that was the case.
So we spent the whole time talking about what's winning. The wind in the trees, it's a great sound. I mean, it deserved to be in the Final Four. I think of it when, like I said, like Colorado or like out hiking or like
just outdoorsy.
A nice breezy day. Like, again, it could be that not quite wind howling, but it could be windy enough to where I'm getting tree limbs breaking off my tree because my tree in my front yard sucks. All it does is drop tree limbs.
It does.
It's a great sound, and it deserved to be one of the top 4, but Rumble of Thunder.
Yeah, Rumble of Thunder.
It's gotta. Okay. 2 seed, Rain on the Roof versus 11 seed, Car on Wet Roads, both associated with rain. It was a great run by Car on Wet Roads, but it's got to be Rain on the Roof.
It has to be Rain on the Roof.
Yeah. What kind of roof is the best sound? Is it tin? It's like hearing that like ting.
Yeah, maybe, but that's louder.
Yeah.
So we have these awnings on the side of our house. They're like these metal awning type things on our windows, and it's really hard to sleep if it's just even a light rain. I hear it.
Yeah.
If I were downstairs on the couch or something, I don't hear that, but up in our room we hear it. So I don't know. That would keep me up if it was a tin roof.
Yeah, and we have a skylight in our bathroom. And
how is that? We don't have a skylight.
If it's pouring down rain, it's like you're questioning, is that hail or is that just really big raindrops? But if it's just like a good, consistent, like moderate rain, it's a great sound. It's like, I love sleeping to that, especially naps. Naps to rain are the best.
That's why during the day, rain is just awesome.
Yes. As long as you didn't have outdoor plants.
Yeah, that's true. Their whole day's ruined.
So this whole bracket came down to our 1 versus 2 seeds. So I guess we could say no ego here, but I do mention this a lot. The bracketologist knows what he's talking about because we sometimes get the 1 and 2 seed versus each other in the final round.
Way to go, bracketologist, Ben.
What do you think?
Oh, we're matching them up now. Okay. I can't believe we're at this point. This is a really tough one. I am still going with Rumble of Thunder. That's the winner to me. I don't know. I say that and then I second guess myself.
It's such a perfect. There's nothing else like it. Like there's other things on this list that are like close to Rain on Roof. Again, if you get the right size hail or the right size sleet, it could sound like heavy rain. And Rumble of Thunder is just so unique.
Yeah.
You immediately know when you hear it what it is.
And even with a Rumble of Thunder, you can get rain on the roof.
Yeah, true. And
so
yeah,
they are close.
Yeah, they are closely associated with each other.
Yeah.
But like I feel like Rain on the Roof could just be white noise. Like you literally could turn a white noise app and turn on white noise or one of the other color noises because there's other colors evidently. And it could just sound like rain falling on a roof.
Right.
I just think the uniqueness of where out of everything on this list, there's a few that stand out that like, if you hear it, you know exactly what that is. And there's no question.
Right. Right. And you're saying that rain on the roof could be, we could get some hail mixing in or even sleet mixing in if it's cold enough. You can even get that.
And I like that with Rumble of Thunder. Like I said, it could be that the storm has moved out and it's now the calm after the storm.
Yeah.
It could be the calm before the storm, just barely broken up by that Rumble of Thunder. It could be a storm that's missing you, that's in the distance, but
around.
It's just a nice sound.
It is.
All right, well, our 1 seed wins, Rumble of Thunder.
Woo!
That was a little bit.
Rumble.
That was painless. I thought it would be a little bit more painful. We didn't disagree that often.
I know. I was trying to throw in some upsets in there.
Yeah, I like it. No, it's like rain pouring and Rain on Roof are pretty similar, and Silence of Snow. It's like literally there's no sound on that one.
I like the idea though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this just speaks for itself. Rumble of Thunder is just, and rain may be coming, and you may need the rain.
Yeah.
Lightning is great for plants and gardens. from the
And
nitrogen.
Sometimes you can get rumbles of thunder without lightning, like
That's true.
cloud to ground
Around.
lightning. So it's like not that, like crack of thunder, you're like, did someone just lose their power? Did someone get struck by lightning? Is a house on fire? Rumble of thunder could just be like literally just a active thunderstorm that's got some cloud to cloud lightning going on.
Yeah.
Well, this
Your
was
attention.
fun.
And it tells you how amazing Mother Nature is.
That is true.
Yeah.
This was fun. Lindsey, you can catch her on 41 Action News, 4:30 to 7 a.m., and then cut-ins during the Today Show. Occasionally also the midday show at 11 a.m.
That's right.
We are happy to have her in Kansas City and part of the Let It Fly Media family. She is married to our co-founder, Andrew Carter. This was fun. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time.